We are back on Morning Line. Thanks for joining us on this Monday. Nick Beres here with Davidson County Sheriff Daron Hall. Good to have him on. We're going to take your phone call, 737-7587. But one thing we were talking about during the break that I wanted to bring up, too, is to address this issue, which has been in the news lately, of scabies. And now a lawsuit being filed by some of the inmates and an issue of scabies, whether or not now, and I'll let you clarify, whether or not how it affects the Davidson County Jail or the CCA facility run by Core Civic, right, and whether or not inmates were being taken to the court that had scabies, which can be a mite or a rash, and whether that was transferred to a lawyer's, and it's just kind of nasty. All right, how do you want to address this?
Yeah, a couple things. The story actually focused on the CCA facility that houses women.
Okay.
Just so you know, they're housing women because we had to move them to build the downtown facility. It really shouldn't be housing what are called jail women. You know, they're just recently arrested off the streets. It was a prison in design. It's a prison contract. They are allowed via contract to house females. But it's not the best situation in the world for anybody, because keep in mind, had we built on Harding like we wanted to, you wouldn't have had to do this mess of moving everybody around. For the next 2 years, everyone's going to be a little inconvenienced as to where they're housed. So the women that are in jail are now at the CCA facility.
And where is that again?
It's on Harding Place.
Harding Place, okay, that one there. All right.
And so the women that were originally involved here were taken to court. Evidently, someone, excuse me, had scabies. And so when it gets to court, there was a kind of a reaction to that by court personnel and others. And there's this, you know, the issue really is about the infection of scabies in a jail. Well, first of all, we have 8 or so cases a month in our jail of scabies. It's not unusual.
Scabies just happen in jail settings at times.
Always, and not just jail, schools, senior citizen center. It's hard to rid yourself of this, and we'll have it all the time. If Nick Beres came in today and we thought he had scabies, the medical staff are gonna take you. We're gonna isolate you, treat you for 24 hours. You're no longer able to be contagious, and we would then release you and move you on to courts and so forth. But it's very hard to ever think you can eliminate. We don't have an outbreak in our jails of scabies. What we have all the time is the potential for scabies to spread because someone's coming off the streets that may have it, and you'll never completely rid yourself. I think the issue here is that some folks in the court system and others, you know, believe that the CCA facility, and let me just clear this up, the health department oversees the health provided to all inmates in every jail, ours and theirs. And the health department's contract is with a company, in this case it's CCA, to manage the health care. And the debate is whether the CCA facility and the health department could have, should have informed the courts and so forth of someone who has scabies. So that's what you're reading so much about. Let me, if you pull it up online, it's Center for Disease Control, or you read anything about scabies, the transmission of scabies is prolonged skin-to-skin contact. You could sleep in my bunk, I could give you my clothes, and sure, there's a lot of opportunity to transmit. But it's not shaking hands, it's not patting you on the back, it's not extremely rare for it to ever move in any other way. Our staff live with the inmates. We up until we had a case last week where a staff member was sent to the IOD clinic to be checked out. He's being treated for what is called precautionary scabies, right? It looks just like poison ivy. It looks like a rash I had this weekend at my son's baseball game. I mean, there are a lot of things, but when you go to the clinic or a doctor and tell them, hey, I work in a facility where there's scabies, they're going to treat you to protect you from getting it with a medicine. That doesn't mean that you have scabies mites in your body, and I think that's what's kind of gotten lost in this whole conversation. Some of the articles have said hundreds of people are being treated for scabies.
That's what they're saying. The Tennessean reported earlier this month that hundreds of inmates were receiving treatment for the parasite.
You're right. They're being treated to prevent that from transmitting to other people, and that doesn't mean that there's 100 people with it or even a rash. That means there's 100+ people who live in a cell where there may be one person who potentially has it. So there's just it's a very tough thing. It's just like the flu. We have the flu all the time, and when a person comes in the jail who has the flu and they're diagnosed and someone else starts coughing or feeling bad, then the medical staff are going to treat the other person like they have the flu to ensure that that doesn't.
So you would not call it an outbreak?
Yeah, there's two separate issues. Okay, so the CCA's facility, I'll let them speak for their facility. I'm not in that facility. We don't run that facility. We don't have an outbreak in our jails in Nashville. We have scabies today. We will have scabies tomorrow. We've had it last year and last month. And so I don't want anyone to, oh my God, there's this outbreak, this new thing we don't know about. We have it all the time. And what you're trying to do is control the transmission of it. It is prolonged skin-to-skin contact is the most likely case. of how you transmit it. Our staff, we do not have our staff members being sent to the hospitals and doctors to be checked out. And if they do have a rash, we're going to send them to have it looked at. I suspect every doctor in Nashville is going to, if you tell them where you work, they're going to prescribe some sort of medication that treats scabies so you won't get it. It doesn't mean you're positive for the mite.
It's just preventative.
Right. It's a way to stop it from
once you know it's
getting
there.
So.
Now, and the separate issue here, and again, I guess this is focused on CoreCivic, because a lawsuit's been filed, which was not against Davidson County Jail. It's against CoreCivic, and there's separate issues here about whether or not threats were made to try to keep quiet the fact that maybe medicines weren't being provided for the treatment of scabies, and that's a separate issue.
And I don't want to speak to anything out there because I really don't know much about the details.
Allegations,
but I do think it's important that we don't overreact to the word scabies. By the way, a lot of staff, I mean, I asked some of our administrative staff the other day, how many of you have ever heard of it? Half of them didn't even know what scabies was. They don't work in jails. A lot of people out there don't know what scabies is.
I think most of us have heard of scabies. Now, whether or not it's, my understanding is some type of parasite that can get on there and then it causes a rash, like you said. That's basically my understanding of it.
It's a little bit like lice, which we have lice.
Which I know about.
We have lice in and out of our system. It's dirty, it feels bad, those things. But you're running an operation where people have been living on the streets for months and years, and you have all sorts of cross-contamination. It's very tough to keep this stuff out completely of your system. I just want people to understand we're going to have it next month and next year. Most jails have it every day, and you're trying to identify who has it, treat it so you don't spread the the mite into some other person. The reality of that is stopping it from moving is very tough in a place where people are showering and walking in and out of each operation, and skin-to-skin contact can happen. But it's not shaking hands or bumping elbows that's going to transmit it normally.
Yeah, okay, and you know what's interesting, as you said, lice and things like this, it's yet another reason why you don't want to go to jail. But it's not just something like jails and prisons. It happens in dormitories. It happens at daycare centers. Now, I don't hear scabies as often, but I've certainly heard of lice. And it needs to be treated. But as I said, this lawsuit and those allegations against CoreCivic separate, and I don't know any of the details from that. But as you said here, scabies are a reality behind bars. And as we speak right now, you probably got 8 to 10 cases at the jail as you speak.
Right. And my son is in high school, sophomore in high school, and I think there was an outbreak of staph infection on blocking dummies at football practice. You're in a locker room.
I remember.
It's a very tough thing to deal with, and so scabies is not something good or you want, but I don't think it's fair to act like we've had this new thing that's just taken over the jails. That's not true. It's always going to be there. Our job is to minimize that spread, and through the health staff to ensure that the people who feel like they may have some potential exposure to it are treated so that it doesn't ever get there. And treating it doesn't mean you have scabies. I mean, I took some medicine over the weekend because I felt like I was having allergies. I don't know if I am or not, but I was trying to reduce my likelihood. And so we just have to be kind of careful with that. And obviously the jails that we run have the same potential problem. This one deals more directly with CCA.
Gotcha. All right, let's take a call before we go to the break. Real quick, squeeze in Anna. Anna, good morning.
Good morning.
Hey.
I don't know if Sheriff Hall can answer my question or not. But, I've got a family member that racked up 2 DUIs, and Davidson County was real nice to say, you got these in a month's time, and you're very young, so we're going to send you to a rehab unit for 3 months. And she went and she played by their rules, and she came out, she laughed, and she said, I knew how to get out. And 3 months later, Robertson County arrested her for her 3rd DUI. And on the day she was doing court there, Davidson County picked her up for her 4th DUI. So when she was doing court, she racked up a contempt charge in Robertson County, and her father was dumb enough to pay her bond in Davidson County, and Robertson real quickly came and picked her up. And so she's now in Robertson County for that DUI, and she'll be held there till August because she's got all kinds of charges there, including contempt. Now, she's due here in July. Will she be held on contempt in Davidson County? We really want to see this young lady who at 25 has gotten 4 DUIs in a year and 8 months.
Wow.
She's driven this vehicle by herself. She has driven it off the road and left it and been found twice unconscious in the front seat. And she has done this in 2 counties in less than 2 years. So we really don't want to see her get out until she really sees the impact of what is going on.
Okay.
Wow. I'm so glad, Anna, you said it that way. Unfortunately, most people in your situation with a loved one who's involved don't accept that we don't need them out until they arrest the real problem. And she's not the problem. It's the disease that she has that's the problem. And you can't arrest that disease if people are bonding her out, getting her out, denying that she's got an addiction to something. It may be alcohol, it may not. I think we're all lucky that she's not killed somebody.
Or herself. Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So your attitude is exactly right. I can't speak to, my hope is the contempt that may be used. Most importantly, my hope is that they can combine these and maybe convict her of enough time on the DUIs to receive quality treatment. That means usually several months of treatment and several months of follow-up, and usually the best treatment is in jail to get.
Well, you say you guys do have treatment for this in the jail?
Right. We have a licensed alcohol and drug treatment center. We're the largest in the state of Tennessee.
So we're talking counseling and
it's a inpatient, very comprehensive, what you would call therapeutic community environment where you're getting up, you're going through education awareness, you're going through. It's a 12-step model.
It's like AA.
Well, it is, but it's structure your life. Get up 4 o'clock in the morning. You have group activities. You have a work assignment. And we have all sorts of what you would call therapeutic response to what led you here. You're trying to break down the fact that this person is severely addicted to alcohol or drugs, and until you arrest that, until you make that the issue. And most families don't. Most families are in denial about that. The police are out to get them. Boyfriend caused it. Car, the accelerators goes too fast. And it's addicted. She's addicted, and she has a disease, and we need to arrest the disease. She needs to be in an environment, excuse me, a treatment environment. And I believe the best treatment, unfortunately, is a great article of the weekend I retweeted, that people are now realizing that treating addiction, especially even opioid addiction, the best place to do it is in jails. That's a terrible way to use jails, but it is true. It needs to be a sterile environment. It needs to be a treatment environment. It doesn't need to be posh and comfortable and nice in life, and because we need to hit rock bottom sometimes to move on. And I don't think jails are the best place to do it if I could redesign society, but today's society doesn't have that option. So you need to, and she's begging. Listen to what she said. She doesn't want her out.
Right.
She's got the right attitude as a loved one of someone who's severely addicted.
Take a break on that note. We can talk more on that. Take more of your phone calls, 737-7587 if you want to jump in. Davidson County Sheriff Daron Hall with us until 9 o'clock. We'll be right back after this. Yeah, I was going to